It's time to get all your Star Wars news in a single file. From Panther Tracks TV, this is Good Morning Tatooine!
Good morning, Tatooine indeed. Welcome back to your weekly recap of everything Star Wars and Lucasfilm. I'm your host, Brian Cameron, and with me, my co-host, Mr. Paul Naylor.
Hello, Brian. You had a good week?
I've had an excellent week, thank you very much. In the comments, as always, Mr. Newbold, fact-checking, I'm sure. I believe he's only here for half the show, though, so we get to go wild the second half, Paul.
Oh, great.
He's also loving the T-shirt. Ash.
Thank you very much. Yes, Mark and myself went to see the boys last night. Very good show. Excellent stuff. Yeah, if you get a chance to see them on their current tour, go and enjoy.
Hi, Jonathan, as well. Good to see you
Hi,
in the chat as well. Want to hear everybody's thoughts on the news and everything else as we discuss it. We'll share as many opinions as we can, because your opinion is just as much worthy as ours.
If not more so.
Yes, lots of news to get through. So let's have a look at what's coming up. First up, we're talking everything Andor. Tony Gilroy's been doing the rounds of interviews. He's been talking the Ghorman Massacre, his future in the galaxy far, far away, Mon Mothma, K2SO, and even the structure of Season 2 will be reflection on some of the comments made.
Is Giancarlo Esposito likely to return as Moff Gideon? He very much wants to, so let's see what happens with that.
We also got the surprise announcement this week that Light and Magic is coming back for a second season, and the premiere is going to be the 18th of April on Disney+.
Regal robot, the Millennium Falcon cockpit rolling desk chair. See what you think of it when we show you a picture very shortly.
Giancarlo and Novo have also announced their Star Wars Senate Guard helmet. If you want to show your appreciation and worthiness to the Emperor and guard him safely.
He's off already. Then we're off to Jabba's court, and we take a look at the panel schedule, and we pick out some of the highlights from that.
Celebration Japan is obviously on the horizon. As well as picking our panel picks, we'll be having a look at what you can pick up if you head to the collect and track with an announcement that was exclusive to Panther Tracks on the R2-D2 and C-3PO acrylic stand figures.
Yeah, very nice as well. Star Wars Jedi Knights #1. Apparently, he's going to get a second printing.
And last but not least in the news, Star Wars Hunters, the mobile game, is coming to an end in October as the servers are going to be switched off. And of course, it wouldn't be a Good Morning Tatooine without a review and recap of Andor Season 1. This week we're tackling Episode 9 as we approach the end of the season, just as we get ready for Season 2 to drop. And welcome to Chris as well in the chat.
Hi, Chris.
Lots to chew in there. Paul, anything that strikes your mind straight away?
I can't wait to have a look at this chair.
Yeah, let's get stuck into the news. So, Andor, obviously huge on the horizon. Season 2 just about to drop. Tony Gilroy doing the press tour, including a live chat where you could ask questions. He didn't field any of mine about Andor's sister. Will we ever find out what happened to her? Or is it just a thread of the story that's going to be lost forever?
The forgotten plot thread, yeah.
Yeah. He's first up, Tony Gilroy spoke about the Ghorman Massacre. Everyone calls it a massacre. I call it an establishment of peace and justice in the galaxy. I actually hope that it's all shown to have been caused by Cassian Andor, and it was really just a false flag operation by the rebellion. That's my hope. I hope that
You,
comes
you
true.
really do think there's going to be some sort of twist like that?
I do, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Obviously, we see part of Ghorman in the teaser trailer. And Tony Gilroy's asked about it, and it kind of excited him to be able to tackle it. Obviously, he's looked at the flagpole events in the 5 years that he's covering, and established, there's certain things that have to be stuck to because they're established in canon. Things like Mon Mothma leaving the Senate, the development of the Yavin base, discovery of the Death Star, and the intelligence that leads to the plot of Rogue One. And Ghorman is continuously referred to in canon, but it's done so in a way that doesn't actually describe the events in any kind of detail. So it's almost like a blank slate for him. Everybody knows about this supposed massacre on Ghorman, but nobody really knows the story behind it. So it's something that was quite appealing for him to be able to tackle. And I think he said that 5 episodes are going to cover this
Right. Okay.
plot.
Okay. So obviously that evolves over a couple of years, then 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think? Do you think it's going to be very similar to perhaps in terms of real events? Do you think it's going to be similar to the Ukraine-Russia kind of idea?
I think it's a false flag operation. I think it's one way to establish how far the rebellion willing to go.
Yeah.
And they needed something to turn one of the opinions of the galaxy a little bit, I think, against the Emperor. And I think that having it as a false flag operation is the twist that it needs. And or if it's not a false flag operation, it's going to be the beginnings of a rebel uprising and how far they're willing to go and what's the consequences of how far they go. It can go one of two ways.
It looks like it's going to be a real sort of tense time in the galaxy, doesn't it? I mean, even from just the few shots that we've seen in the trailer, it looks like a real sort of boiling point.
There's a little bit of Luthien creates these scenarios. It's almost like he throws a grenade in a room and he's not so worried about the consequences. And I wonder if Ghorman's one of them, where he stirs it up to a point to aid his establishment of a rebellion, and things just get out of hand.
Possibly, yeah. That could be one of the main plot points. But even from the little bit that we've seen, it does look it does look like it's going to be a focal point, definitely of the whole storyline.
Yeah. The next interesting comment Tony's made this past week is kind of a response to the question asked of Kathleen Kennedy about whether or not he would be sticking around in the galaxy far, far away, and she pretty much said no. And he's backed up as well, saying that he's been involved more or less for 10 years, and certainly for the past 6 on working on Andor. It's a big chunk of his life, big chunk of his working life, and he's going to leave behind a big piece of Star Wars real estate, so he's not feeling guilty about not chipping in the future. I kind of agree. I kind of feel like he's given what's there to be given.
I think there's a danger as well that if you've come up with something that's as significant as Rogue One and Andor seasons 1 and 2, hopefully it looks to be significant. You don't want to dilute that by doing something else. It's better to be remembered for something good than to be remembered for something good and bad. So I think that's probably his thought process on that.
Yeah, and there's nothing to say that he doesn't go away and work on something else for the next 10 years and then come back further down the line. I just don't. I think it's never good to have creative talent stick around a franchise forever. I think it's good to have people come in and out, and hopefully people take inspiration from what he's done and think, well, I can do something similar and/or better.
Yeah, or something that spins off from it, very much like Rogue One was just a spin-off from the crawl of the original Star Wars. There's nothing to say that there's not a plot point in Andor that we could spin off from and have something completely fresh.
Yeah. Excuse me. He's done a shift in his tone and contributions from this going forward. That's kind of how I feel.
Yeah, yeah. But the fact that we've got it at all is something to be joyous about, isn't it?
Yes, I think so. Mon Mothma, nothing about her to be joyous about. Disgraceful terrorist that she is.
In your opinion.
Yeah, in my opinion. And it's a fact she instigated an undemocratic terrorist organization.
Yeah,
Terrible.
yeah,
Which we'll come
yeah.
to when we review
That's one
episode 9.
take.
We'll see that in live action. Democracy standing up there.
I want to see when she leaves the Senate that she's actually the one that sets up the beard factory that makes the false beards for General Medine and anybody else that needs one.
Yeah, I
That's
think
what I
that's
want her
that's
doing.
what's needed, yeah. She's got nowhere to hide. She's going to have a tough time in season 2. We kind of saw this building in season 1 where she was having to sort of deal with dangerous individuals to get some money because she'd been filtering her money towards terrorism, and she was going to get found out by the Empire as they were doing their financial checks.
Yeah.
So we're already seeing everything sort of closing in on her sister Val as well.
But she's got all the personal stuff going on as well. She's clearly got an unhappy, and I believe her marriage was an arranged marriage as well.
Yeah.
And now she's got the prospect of seeing her daughter repeating that journey. And I think that's perhaps making her take her eye off the ball in many ways. And that's probably why things are going to go a little bit haywire.
Chris has made a comment, undemocratic but supports the Emperor. Watch Revenge of the Sith again, and you will see the vote where the Emperor gets the powers to carry out the acts that he's required to undertake, So, yeah, we see the democracy. He uses democracy, the Emperor.
And of course, you can go and see that at the cinema soon.
You can, back in the cinema. Yeah, so interesting to see where her plot's going to be. She's going to get wrapped up more and more in her own trap, I think, a little bit.
Yeah, yeah.
Gilroy's also spoken on K2SO, and wider comments as well about he didn't just want to bring anyone back for the sake of bringing them back. They had to deliver, and there had to be a purpose and a reason.
Yeah.
Difficult, I think, to bring a character with the kind of humour of K2SO into Andor as things get more and more serious.
Well, we needed to see an origin story, I suppose. We needed to see at what point Cassian connects with him so it makes sense, their relationship when we get to Rogue One. I mean, that image there, that could be K2SO, it could be another security droid. But I really like the look of the guy that stood behind him. I think he's behind him, not in front of him. He might be in front of him. No, he's behind him. This sort of biker scout, but with like an Imperial sort of cap.
Yes.
Very interesting look. Yeah, hybrid. Yeah, that's all very cool.
And last but not least, on the Tony Gilroy comment trail, he spoke about the shift from 5 to 2 seasons, stating that it's the only way it could possibly exist. He talked about when they made the decision whilst they were in the middle of season 1, how they were going to operate going forward, how they're going to be able to tell the story, and the best way of doing that. And the idea of 3 episodes 1 year apart sort of came to him, and that felt like the perfect solution. What there wasn't going to be a way to tell it in over 5 seasons, as kind of the original kind of concept was.
I think that's a convenient way to sum that up, but I think it's probably more about money.
You think?
Yeah, definitely.
I definitely think during season 1 and the production of season 1, there was definitely a shift in attitude amongst all the streaming companies as to how, where, and when they would spend money. And I would think that the way forward would have definitely changed. Regardless if it had gone to 5 seasons, you would have seen a wildly different season 5 from season 1.
I must say though, I do like this idea of releasing a block of episodes over a 4-week period. I do like that idea because essentially we're going to get like a movie every week, and it's going to be pretty tricky for you and I to turn it around in terms of the
That's the biggest
review.
problem. And I don't just mean it. Tony Gilroy actually made a comment how it's going to make life difficult for podcasts in one of his interviews, which I did laugh about.
Yeah, yeah,
But it also makes life really difficult for fans because generally we all know how long it takes us to watch a single episode, and so we know when we can start speaking spoilers, or
yeah,
when we can start having conversation with our friends about, have you seen this? Have you seen that? What do you think of this? When it's
yeah.
3 episodes, most people are not going to watch that in one day.
What day of the week is it releasing? Is it Tuesdays?
Tuesdays.
Okay, so I would say, I mean, we're in a fortunate position that our show comes out on a Sunday, so we're quite lucky with that. I would say that's probably about the right time to sum it up. I apologize, my camera keeps blurring. I'm trying to sort it out. So I think we'll be right with talking about it on a Sunday.
Yeah, I think so. Mark, it's going to be a challenge doing three episodes in a single day. I have this thing where obviously it releases at 8 a.m. in the UK. I can watch a 45-minute episode before I go to work. Can't watch 3 episodes.
Yeah, I mean, I work for myself, so I will probably get an opportunity to watch them all back to back. Be very tempted to do so. So, yeah, looking forward to it. Really looking forward to it.
Yeah.
It means then that if the first episode in a lump of 3 or the second episode is slow, because you're watching all 3 to make one story, they can kind of get away with it more.
Yeah. So that's everything this week on Andor. But the Mando and the Child in the future, the Mandalorian is always never too far away. And Giancarlo Esposito has been talking that again. Hold your hand there longer on the screen, Paul. You'll get the focus back if you do. Hold it there for a while, and then it'll come back. And he's been talking about whether he would like to come back to the franchise. He kind of clearly states he can't say whether he's in the Mando and the Child. I think we'll find out next month.
Yeah.
At Celebration Japan, but he does state that he would like to come back in the future, which is always kind of a no-brainer for an actor to say, because why would you turn down potential future work? You never know when the next job's going to come from.
Yeah, I mean, his character potentially got fried at the end of season 3, but we never saw him die. And there was also quite clearly a scene where there was about 10 or 11 of him cloned, so that might have even been a clone that bit the bullet. So who knows?
Yeah, indeed. I'd love to see him back. I think there's more to the character. That's it. Keep your finger there for a second so it goes completely black, and then I'll refocus, I'm sure. Meanwhile, I'll talk about light and magic because that's what we need. Season 2 has come in. I kind of thought there would be a season 2 at some point. Surprised that it's already been filmed. Surprised even more that it's going to premiere on the 18th of April, especially with Andor coming out. It would have made more sense for me to release it in the summer once Andor's off air. But delighted to see it nonetheless. They're going to be picking up just after Jurassic Park, but they're not going to be doing it sequentially anymore. They're going to jump all over the timeline a little bit and look at different things.
Yeah.
So I'm excited. I love these documentaries. I wish Lucasfilm made more of them. I think there's so much content out there and stories and areas of interest that would really appeal. And
Yeah, the Mando round tables when they first came out, they were brilliant, and I really did enjoy season 1 of Light and Magic as well. I just love to find out what goes on in the background anyway.
yeah,
Yeah, we're not having much joy with this camera, but still, never mind. I'm only a
We'll
little on the screen.
we'll soldier on. And we're here at the much debated
Oh,
Millennium Falcon
now
cockpit
we're
rolling
talking.
desk chair, Paul.
Now we're talking. Look at that. You can almost smell the Clicks coffee machine and the 10p that you need to go and get yourself a weak coffee. That is just an office chair. That is not something that
It
I
doesn't
want.
work with that feet and
Yeah,
wheels, basically. I think the
no,
design of the Millennium Falcon element of it, beautiful.
yeah, definitely, definitely.
But unlike, I think they did the Emperor's chair, which I think is gorgeous. Obviously, I love the Emperor. Uh, and if I
We've
could get
never
it here to the
noticed.
UK, I would 100% buy it. But I'm not blown away with this purely, and it's not their fault because you have to make it practical for people. Not many people are going to buy a fixed position pilot chair. So
No,
obviously they've
it's
had to make the compromise of making it, okay, we're going to make it a rolling desk chair, which is the kind of chairs most people are going to buy.
have we got a price on this yet?
There will be a price, but I haven't looked it up. But yeah, it's a lovely design of a chair. I just it's I agree with you, it is a beautiful chair, Mr. Newbold.
Really?
Um,
Really, Mark?
it is. It just doesn't work for me in that configuration. I'd buy a
No.
desk or conference chair. They are very nice as well. There you go, 1,500.
This chair here is $1,500.
Yep,
Okay.
handcrafted, Paul. You have to remember. But
Yeah,
yeah, it's a difficult one. It's a pass for me. I can
yeah,
understand why people would buy it.
yeah, that's a pass for me. Yeah, no, no thanks.
Next on the product line, Novo Star Wars Senate Guard helmet.
Easy for
I
you to
haven't
say.
seen a product from them, a new product from them for quite some time, and
No, it is nice to see them mentioned again. Yeah, definitely.
so it's good to see them back.
Yeah,
And obviously, homage to the Emperor with the wonderful Senate guards that protect peace and justice in the galaxy, unlike those terrible Jedi. Um, although they didn't do much good defending them against Mace Windu, did they? But you can order this now, and it's out in Q4, which is October to December this year. Very nice indeed.
and I'm unblurred. Look at that.
Yeah,
I'm
look at
all
that. Just in time
crinkly
to put a
again.
helmet over your head.
Backwards.
But
I like that. I do like that.
I
That's
do
really
like
cool.
that. They have a really nice build quality as well. Do you know
They
Novo?
have,
And it's the same
yes.
for Regal Robot. The build quality on the stuff that they do is phenomenal, and that's why the price point. But yeah, not one for me to buy because it's not something you sit on a shelf. I don't think it's something if you're more a cosplayer. I think,
Yeah.
but
But
it's
I can
lovely.
imagine that would make a really, really good cosplay.
Yeah,
We see a lot of the red
absolutely.
guys around. See some blue.
Seeing as you're unblurred, do we want to go to Jabba's court and talk about Star
Yeah,
Wars
quickly.
Celebration?
Although I have found out how to get rid of it now, yeah. So yeah,
Yeah,
let's do
let's
it.
do it. Welcome
Hey.
to Jabba's Court. And this week we're talking Star Wars Celebration Japan and the panel schedule. And
Oh
it
yes.
was obviously announced this week. Um, Lots to take in. And obviously we've got lots to choose from. So, Paul, if I bring the panel up on screen in my fancy new
Yes.
gadget, we can pick what we want to see each and every day. So,
Excellent.
let's see if this is going to work.
I
Remember,
can see
people,
that.
join that all-important newsletter. See the big banner at the top there. You get so many emails from them. It's wonderful. Let's get rid of the big graphic out of the way and we can see it. So we'll start celebration stage, Paul.
Yeah.
Not that many panels on the celebration stage, but you've got basically 3 panels a day.
Yeah.
So starting on Friday, the Mandalorian and Grogu.
I think for me, that's going to be the one that I would say would be the one I would be most interested in seeing. I mean, all 3 panels look great. Um, oh, Shall I change my mind? Well, I'll tell you what. I'll go with the Mandalorian and Grogu. I'll give you the opportunity to choose one of the others.
Yeah.
It's much hyped. I think this will be the time when they'll really start promoting it. I think you'll probably get a trailer, and I think you might even get some sort of sizzle reel. Um, but yeah, I mean, all hopes are pinned on Star Wars returning to the big screen, aren't they? At the end of the day.
Yeah. Mr. Newbold as well. He's picking Mandalorian and Grogu as a must-see panel.
Yeah.
In the chat.
What do you think, Bri? What would you like to say?
Well, here's the thing. I'm quite interested to see the light and magic panel that day.
Yeah, I thought
Purely
so.
because I think you'll get stories from everybody that's slightly different than you'll get in the other panels you wouldn't hear anywhere else. I know a lot of
Yeah.
people will be excited for the animation 20th anniversary panel in the afternoon, but I couldn't care less about animation.
Yeah,
They're talking
Jonathan
about
Bloss.
streaming. They have announced that they're going to be streaming lots. They are going to have a celebration live stage as well. So there
Yeah,
will be a stream going on constantly throughout the day and people being interviewed on the live stage as well. I think they will show the core main panels and there'll probably be cutaways to a blank screen during certain segments where they don't want to show people at home
I think
because
you're right. Yeah,
they
yeah.
always have this stupid thing where they don't want to show you footage when
Which eventually, about halfway through the day, we find out anyway and find some way of finding it.
yeah.
But yeah, you're right. I mean, probably more than the last couple of celebrations, there will be streaming going on, which is good, particularly for people that can't make it out there. And I think that's probably as much to pander to the US audience as anything else, because there's a lot of people from the US that won't be able to make it out there. So
Yeah.
I think that's probably why they're doing that.
On the Saturday, you've got a choice between Andor in the morning, Ahsoka in the afternoon, and a screening of the Siege of Mandalore animated shows
Yeah.
in the early evening.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
I'm
I've
kind
seen
of
I've seen I've seen the Siege of Mandalore obviously myself already, so scratch that one. Um, the Ahsoka one, as much as I'd like to see that, it's got to be Andor, got to be that. Again, you're going to get. I would imagine that you're going to get shown an episode, maybe two episodes. Who knows? Maybe three. Um, yeah. So I think you're going to get a sneak peek a few days ahead of everybody else there with the Andor one.
Jonathan's making a comment. He's never been at a celebration, but he's tuned in the past. I had to tune in to celebration in Chicago, and I've
Yeah.
been to most celebrations prior to that. Tuning in live is not the same as being there. It has some fantastic benefits because you get to see a lot of what's going on the live stage and probably see
Yeah.
panels that you'd otherwise not see when you're actually at a show. It's got massive ups and downs.
Yeah.
Um,
There is that. Yeah.
but
But then
in
there's
Chicago,
also
there was a wonderful Doug Chang panel being shown, and it was
yes.
insightful and beautiful. And I probably wouldn't have went if I'd been at Celebration, but it was so enjoyable watching it from the comfort
Yeah.
of my living room.
Yeah.
I
Let's
was
not forget
recovering from an
these are some of the
operation,
key.
and
Yeah.
they cut away midway through the panel to go back to the live stage
Yeah.
for Ewan McGregor to announce that he's only signing for another hour. Hurry along to his booth. And then they never went back to the panel, and it was the most
Yeah.
infuriating thing ever.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I think I don't know about you, Brian, but when you're actually there, if something happens while you're there and you don't get to go to a panel because of either the lottery system or whatever system they choose to use, light speed lane this time, isn't it? I think.
yeah,
Um, it's actually more frustrating than if you sat at home in the UK or the US, wherever you reside, and you're watching it on some sort of streaming service. It's actually more frustrating if you're out there where it's all happening, but you can't get access.
yeah.
That
There is
really
that
irritates me.
100%. There's pros and cons to both, and
Yeah,
I often go back and watch the live streams after I've been to a show,
Yeah,
and I find out all sorts of things I didn't know, which
yeah,
is just crazy. But
yeah,
on a Saturday, it's a tough choice because you go to Andor, you're going to have seen all the Andor episodes within the next month.
yeah.
So that kind of okay. But
Yeah, that's a good
if you
point.
go to
That is a
Andor
good
in the
point.
morning, you're probably going to get a screening of the episodes in that evening. So
Yeah,
it's like okay. However, if you go to Ahsoka,
yeah,
there's a very high likely you're going to learn new things on the basis of they're just about to start filming in May. They can't really show you anything, but they can probably show you concepts and ideas, and you'll get to hear from, I imagine, cast members.
yeah. So you might get the first opportunity to see some cast members that are new to the show, or
Possibly.
certainly returning characters. Um, and I think that when we come to one of the future movies that's been talked about, which is the one that brings together the Mandoverse, I think the events that happen in Ahsoka season 2 are going to be pivotal to what happens for that big swing
Yeah,
out
and
in.
obviously Dave Filoni is creative director. He's going to be at the Ahsoka panel, and so if you're going to hear
Yeah,
anything about future movies and the future of the Mandoverse, there's a high likelihood it could be at that panel.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
No, that's a
yeah,
good point.
I'm going to go Ahsoka just to be different, I think. And on the
Good.
Sunday, you've got the first look at Star Wars Visions Volume 3, which you shouldn't go to because that clashes with something coming up in the HoloNet stage, which we'll get to shortly. So you should skip that entirely. That's not even an option. So later you've got the heroic sidekicks of Star Wars, or you've got the closing ceremony. The closing ceremony is a must for me every time.
And me. Yeah. I mean, the thing about the closing ceremony is it sums everything up nicely. You'll probably get elements of all the different panels brought together. But the most exciting thing for me always is when they announce the next celebration. And the next one is likely to take place
In
in
Birmingham.
2027. In Birmingham, no, in Telford, in 2027, and will be the 50th anniversary of the release of the original film, of course. That for me will be like sort of, well, I've got goosebumps now just thinking about that. I'm hoping probably Orlando or Anaheim for that. But that will be one that I will definitely be going to.
Yeah. If we hop over to the I think I said it was the Twin Suns stage. So first thing in the morning, every day you're getting repeats of or a streamed
You'll
version of
get
what's
to,
on the
yeah, you'll get
celebration
it
stage,
streamed. Yeah, you'll get it streamed from the lives. Yeah,
which is
yeah,
great because it allows more people to see it. You're not in the room, but you're there kind of still.
yeah.
Um, on the Friday, we've got Hasbro's panel, which is always interesting. I think that
Yeah,
would be a big
yeah,
one for you, Paul.
yeah. I'd like to see what they've got lined up. I can remember various exclusives being revealed over the years. Yeah, it's always a good room to be in. Yeah,
And they're also going to be screening episodes of Visions. Um, Something that may be interesting, they're going to be telling stories across culture, Star Wars in Japan. That could be interesting.
yeah, yeah,
Visiting a
yeah,
different country. Sometimes you can get the unexpected, really interesting panel that way. And last thing in the evening, expanding the Star Wars galaxy through plastic models. So I'm going to go with the Japan on the Friday.
yeah. I would go with the Hasbro.
On the Saturday, really all you have to choose between is Doug Chang's masterclass, which I talked about earlier, so I'm picking that.
Yeah,
Or you've got a
yeah.
cosplay showcase.
I think I'd be sat next to you at Doug Chang,
Yeah,
definitely.
easy choice. And on the
Yeah,
Sunday, Disney Experiences Building a Galaxy with Walt Disney Imagineering, The Fett Family, a screening of the Star Wars Rebels finale, and obviously that's the closing ceremony is getting
yeah.
streamed from the celebration stage as well. So I'm
I
going to
suppose,
go on the Sunday. I'm going with the Disney Experiences and the Walt Disney
yeah,
Imagineering.
I'll go and see Tem and Daniel at the Fett family. Why not?
Excellent. And where else? Where else do we go to next? let's go to the Galaxy stage. And again, streaming content from the Celebration stage takes up much of it. But on the Friday, we have the Lucasfilm publishing panel, where they're going manga-centric.
Which is understandable, yeah.
Later in that day, they were also doing stories from a galaxy far, far away as well. And the last thing in the evening, you've got Doug Chang designing the world of Skeleton Crew. I'm a big publishing fan.
Yeah.
But all you're going to get is a series of announcements, really. So I'm going Doug Chang.
Yeah, I'm thinking the same. Or I suppose it would be nice to see the animation streamed, but I'm already going to be doing something else then. But say I wasn't, I'd go. I'd have a look at the animation.
On the Saturday, we're getting restreams from Celebration as well. A conversation with Oscar Isaac, which could be interesting. He may get asked if whether he would come back and do more for example, the Ray movie. And Jonathan was asking, do you think there'll be any game announcements? 4:30 p.m. Bit Reactor is a developer, and they're working alongside Respawn Entertainment and Lucasfilm Games. I expect very big announcements at that panel with regards gaming.
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, that's there is another huge element of the fan base for which the gaming is, that is their main part of the galaxy. So yeah, that would be interesting to see. But I think on that list there, it would have to be Oscar Isaac for me.
Kevin's asking whether the panel book has started yet. I think it's the 23rd. It's definitely this week. I can't remember the exact date. I'm sure it's this coming week that it starts. I will let you know later, Kevin. I will find out and let you know, unless Mr. Newbold chimes in with the exact date, but I'm sure it's this coming week.
Well, that's nice to see Kevin thinking about other people, because Kevin will be fine.
Yeah, he'll be fine. And on the Sunday, you have ILM presents The Mandalorian and Beyond. Could be very interesting.
Yeah.
You also have 50 Years of Magic, celebrating the legacy of Industrial Light and Magic as well. So, two very, very interesting panels. And out of everybody at Lucasfilm, ILM are excelling in terms of the content they're offering at the show.
Yeah. That ILM presents, do you think that hints at something similar to the one celebration when we had the Mandalorian exhibit?
It wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me.
I mean, that was incredible. That was my
Yeah,
highlight.
that was a celebration I missed. Thanks.
Sorry, mate.
Let's head to collector stage next, and starting the mornings with the collector social. And on the Friday, the PBP First Shots Find, Star Wars coins and medallions, the very origin of Japanese collectibles, 1978, how the Star Wars collecting age began, and Japanese vintage toy oddities. When it's absolutely loaded, the collecting track at Celebration. And you could go to any of these panels. If you find yourself with a little bit of spare time, head to a collecting track panel is always my advice.
I think that there's value and interest in all of those, isn't there? Yeah, I don't think you can go wrong going to any of those.
Yeah. Mr. Newbold confirming panels open March 25th, so it's not this coming week, it's a week Tuesday. Is that right? Week Tuesday. Have to be there for the little man walking across the screen as well, anxiously wait to get in and panic to try and pick what panels we want. I'm going with I'm going to pick Japanese vintage toy oddities.
Right. I'll go with the PBP First Shots.
Okay. On the Saturday, you have homemade Star Wars crafts, the colourful world of vintage Keshigomu. I hope that's how you pronounce it. Rubber erasers.
Right, okay.
Star Wars bottle caps, galactic Toy Story, and vintage Japanese die-cast delights. I can't get past the rubber erasers. I'm going to have to do rubber erasers.
I'm going to go with what was right at the bottom there, bottom of that list.
There is, excuse me, I've just
Yes, the
mucked up.
vintage Japanese die-cast delights. I'll go with now that I've shrunk Mr. Newbold's comment.
I don't know how I did that. I've trashed it anyway. Let's add it again. Oh no, it's still small.
Oh, he's gone little. So little, so little.
There we
Oh,
go.
there.
Oh. Yeah, there we
Eh.
go. He's very much looking forward to some of the collect and track panels.
Yeah.
And on a Sunday, I'm Your Father, Vintage Star Wars Toys versus Lego Star Wars. Fight.
Okay.
From collecting to vintage storytelling, Star Wars toy photography, Star Wars around the house, and Star Wars fragile items, especially ceramics. I'm saying Star Wars around the house. It's cryptic.
That is cryptic. What's that going to be? Is that going to be creaking doors that sound like Chewbacca, that kind of thing? I'm going to go for just because the title's so great. I'm Your Father, Vintage Star Wars Toys versus Lego Star Wars.
Yeah. The comments are still small. There we go. Mr. Newbold wants an article on StarWars.com about erasers that he called Rubber Emperors until they changed the title. Shame.
All sorts of connotations there.
Droid racing, we don't worry about droids. Let's go to the fan stage.
Yeah.
On the Friday, loving your Star Wars story in the theme parks. Dark Side
Nice.
for Life. Why the bad guys are so impactful and just way cooler. I'm obviously
Oh,
picking that panel.
I wonder where Brian's going.
Star Wars in the 1990s. One Galaxy, the costume fan groups. And Senator Rebel Chancellor, who is Mon Mothma.
Right, I want to see you at the dark side panel with your Krennic cape flowing.
On the Saturday,
I'm gonna go for theme parks on that one.
Yeah. On the Saturday, Galaxy Within Reach, Star Wars teaches us about mental health, inclusion, and belonging. Star Wars inspired shadow puppets, celebrating the stories of Jedi Fallen Order and Survivor, inspiring and serving the community through Star Wars memorabilia and the art of Japanese Star Wars vegetable carving. See, this is the parts of celebration that people don't see. I'm going with the vegetable carving because it'll be so cool. I was very tempted by the shadow puppets.
Yes, I'm wondering how the lightsabers are done. I'm gonna go with inspiring and serving the community through Star Wars memorabilia.
Ah, that's very good. On the Sunday, Women in Star Wars cosplay. Padme's Closet, cosplaying Star Wars royalty. Around the world with Star Wars in Carabas costumes.
Do you imagine the around the world with Star Wars could be locations?
It could be, and I'm tempted to go with that one if it is.
Yeah.
I wonder if I can click through and it'll tell me more. Filming locations from Star Wars movies and TV shows throughout the world. Yep.
Yeah.
Let's go for that one, I say.
Yeah.
I can't go back. How did I go back? There we go.
Hey!
Definitely one for me. That was a fan stage. Galactic Senate stage is the costuming groups have got their own stage this time. And so there's just absolute loads on there to do with costumes from all the different guilds. So yeah, pop in past that anytime during celebration, I think.
Yeah.
And last but not least, well, let's do the university stage because we haven't done that because you can learn something at Star Wars as well.
Yeah.
They're on the Friday. They're doing Star Wars TV ads through the years.
We've seen some of
Ahsoka's
that.
Underworld, mythology, folklore, fairy tales, and Joseph Campbell.
Yeah.
Star Wars Origami Workshop.
That's the one for me.
It has to be in Japan. How could you not do origami in Japan? Midichlorians and Alliance of Science, Mythology, and Magic, and the George Lucas Super Live Adventure History.
That just sounds bizarre. No, origami.
So Jonathan's asking if these times are on the website in the UK. I've really ruined the comments since Mr. Newbold broke it.
Yeah, bad man. I would imagine those will be the times. Oh yeah, that's a good point actually. I would imagine those are the Japanese times.
These are definitely the Japanese times. So
yeah,
if you imagine, I think It's something like 8 a.m. is midnight, roughly.
Right. So a
So
lot of
you're
these are going to
talking, these are going to be through the night. So in
through the night.
reality, excuse me whilst I sneeze. Couldn't decide whether I was sneezing or coughing. I think most people in the UK are probably going to wake up in the morning and replay the lives
Yeah.
on YouTube.
They'll probably attempt to watch it on the Friday and then go, stuff this. I'll watch it on replay after.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if I picked one. Star Wars Origami. We're going Star Wars Origami. You have to. Saturday,
Yeah.
the story of the faithful Wookiee, Ewoks, and droids.
Okay.
Science of Revenge of the Sith, which is about one of the few panels on Revenge of the Sith at the entire show.
Yeah.
The secret miniatures of the Star Wars prequels. Star Wars art design and education and more. Young Indy to Young Annie, how the young Indiana Jones Chronicles paved the way for the Star Wars prequels.
Well, that might be nice to squeeze a bit of Indiana Jones content into it.
I'm
Yeah.
going with that as well, yeah. Because it's nice to get a bit of Lucasfilm content in as well.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Sunday, History in a Galaxy Far, Far Away. Kurosara in Star Wars. Droids, Artificial Intelligence and Sentience. And an Ode to Starlight, a High Republic panel.
Kurosawa for
Has
me.
to be Kurosara, isn't it?
Yeah.
Place to be learning more about that. Kevin
Absolutely.
suggested I should do. I don't know if what's gone wrong with my comments. But he's saying droids, why we hate them. Yeah, that would be a good panel. Sadly, not doing it. But Kevin, if you were to come to the HoloNet news stage, you will see on the Sunday at
Wow.
9:30 a.m. So stay up late. Don't worry about work on Monday, people. Stay up late. After work at the time, it's like 2:30 in the morning in the UK. Good Morning Tatooine is going head to head with Making Tracks on a special celebration live event, which I'll be there. Sadly, Paul, you won't be.
I won't be. Have we worked out what the tech is there yet? We know what we've got.
I have a very funny communication with ReadPop, which I won't share. But yes, there will be some technology which may allow Paul to make an appearance.
Fantastic. Are we going to stream me from my bed?
that may be what's happening. It is a live event, and I thought it's gone wrong with my comments. It's completely broken, and I blame Mr. Newbold.
It just doesn't work with this technology bit.
Yeah, I think so. It's gone all wrong. Anyway, later, let's do Friday first. You've got Who's the Boss? Explore the Force. Jack's not in the comments tonight. We can talk about Jack because he's not here. But this is going to be Jack's first celebration panel. So all the best to him. Friend of the show. We'll have to get Jack, if we can get Jack on the show before celebration comes round.
That's a good idea. Yeah, let's do that.
I'll reach out to Jack and we'll see if we can get him on the show. He can talk about his panel and what he's got coming up. I think he's going live in about 12 minutes time, I think, over on the Virtual Cantina.
Is that when Mr.
Facebook page.
Disappearing off to?
So that's why he's not in our chat tonight, I think.
Yeah.
You've also got Star Wars Uplink, Ilanina podcast, and Expedite Conk. Has to be Explore the Force. Friends of the show.
Yeah.
Saturday, Talking Bay 94, Star Wars Geek Girl, Cantina Japan, Blast Points, and the Dad Batch podcast. I haven't heard the Dad Batch podcast, but I just like the name, so I'm giving them my support.
I like that one. Is the Cantina Japan? Is that also is that people that we know?
It's not people we know. It's a different group.
No. Right. Then I'm going with the Dad Batch.
Yeah. Sunday, you have to pick Good Morning Tatooine because you don't want to be friends with people that like the Force because they're evil Jedi. Space Waffles, nah. And Dark Force, no. Darks. No, it's got to be Good Morning Tatooine people.
Good Morning Tatooine.
And
Definitely.
Mr. Newbold is leaving after breaking our chat. He's broken the chat. I can't read the comments anymore. He's got an early start. You can talk nonsense without any corrections for the rest of the show. And Kevin
Bye, Mark.
Kevin is remaining here to hold them to account, apparently.
We're in safe hands. Brilliant.
So that is Celebration, I think, pretty much covered. I think we've covered all the panels.
I like that, Brian. That was good. Yeah.
Yeah, quite happy with it. A nice range of choices there, Paul,
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, yeah.
to pick
And
from.
more going on than I thought was going to be. So that's good.
It is, because I think the initial reaction was a little bit element of disappointment, I think, frustration that it
Yeah,
wasn't as jam-packed as maybe past celebrations. But when you start digging into it, there's a lot going on, and maybe
yeah.
just a lot of interesting panels just not getting the fanfare.
Yeah, certainly when I've been to Celebration over the years, you'll always end up in a panel that you'd not really planned to go to, and you get a lot from it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, don't be afraid to explore and go to some of the more niche ones because they're actually quite often some of the better ones.
Yeah, and I repeat again, hats off to ILM as well, because I think they've pulled it out of the bag as well this show. They've got a lot of really interesting panels.
Loads of behind the scenes stuff, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, which is quite unique really to this kind of event.
Yeah, so that is this week's Jabba's Court. Just time to remind everybody that Jabba's Court is part of Good Morning Tatooine, which we live stream as we are this very second. As part of Good Morning Tatooine at 9 p.m. in the UK, 4 p.m. in New York, and released on a Wednesday at 7 p.m. as its own video. Back to GMT. And we're still talking Celebration.
Yeah.
And we're talking a little exclusive announcement we got on Phantom Tracks this week to do with the collecting track. We got a chance to announce a pair of the figures that you can pick up if you attend a collecting track panel at Star Wars Celebration Japan. So
Yeah.
over the course of the celebration, there are 14 of these acrylic stand figures to collect, with art by artist Dan Tyrrell, and you can listen to him on Cannon Fodder at 7 p.m. in the UK. It's out now, in fact, I believe. Came out earlier tonight, and you can hear from Dan, who's designed all the art in these. And you pick these up for free. If you remember, in past celebrations, they've given away Star Tots, trading cards, medallions, cereal boxes, and really impressive free gift just for attending a panel.
And these are based on the actual figure packaging that was available years and years ago. I think they were Japanese imports, if I remember correctly. But I have seen these over the years in places like Forbidden Planet, and certainly people selling them online, eBay, that kind of thing. And they hold down quite a high value because it's a different way of seeing your traditional action figures, the packaging. So that'll be good. I mean, those R2 and 3PO, if you're going to get an exclusive on any pairing, what better? So well done, Santa, on that. But the
Paul.
fact that 14, 14 to collect. Yeah, I think there were 14 in total, so that's everything covered.
Yep. So worthwhile going after collecting track panel anyway for the knowledge that you'll learn there. Plus, you get a free gift. So what could be better?
Yes. You can almost see Mr. Newbold drooling, can't you?
You can. Star Wars Jedi Knights issue 1 from Marvel is going to be getting a second printing. The story coming from Mark Guggenheim, artist Madabik Musabekov. I hope I pronounced that right. I know I haven't.
Perfect.
We're going to get a second printing, so we're getting a new cover here. And you also get this variant cover, which you will have seen used various times throughout the High Republic publishing schedule as well. And last but not least, in this week's news roundup, the very surprising news that Star Wars Hunters, the mobile game, is going to cease in October. It's going to get a last big update on April 15th, and the game will remain playable until October 1st, and then they will switch off the online servers. This very surprising because they were running trials in January to bring this to PC.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
surprising in the fact that, and I'm going to say it, people will criticise me for it, a little bit childish of a game. And I know people say, "Oh, Star Wars is for kids." It's not. Star Wars is for multiple generations. This was just a little bit Fortnite-ish.
Yeah, I think it was just it suffered from a lack of publicity. I don't think I've played it since I was at Celebration. I actually had to go at it on Celebration. It was quite frustrating and difficult to get into. It wasn't very I soon got stuck in a cul-de-sac, shall we say?
Yeah.
And I think Mr. Newbold found it the same. So yeah, it's not really. It's no great loss to me, put it that way.
Mr. Kevin says, "How dare you insult?" Did I insult Fortnite? I just didn't. I didn't affect Fortnite in the game. I insulted the people that play it. A big difference there, isn't there? I didn't just go for the game. I
don't
went
really
for
think
everybody that plays it, the
didn't put the
millions
fire
that play
out,
for it.
right? That did not put the fire out.
You can't say that Fortnite's not a childish game. It is. It's fucking. Look, I'm swearing now. There's people doing stupid little dances and prancing about and jumping out the sky and parachutes and rubbish.
Never played it.
Yeah,
Played
don't ever play it. It's garbage.
it.
What can I say? He's just like, how dare you insult Fortnite? No.
No.
Not for me. Although, you know what? They do, if you enjoy Fortnite, fair enough. They do Star Wars skins and all that kind of stuff. So you can play with Star Wars characters within that. So, like,
Yeah.
the whole Star Wars Hunters game just didn't make sense.
Yeah, and you can get skins for Minecraft as well, which is another overrated game. But hey, I won't start that one.
You're not going to see the Minecraft movie?
No, I'd rather have my eyes removed and replaced with small oranges. No, definitely not. No.
Well, surprising.
Surprising.
That is all of this week's news covered for us, Paul. But we still have time to recap and review Andor Season 9. Should we bring the Death Star?
Let's bring the Death Star. Is it the Death Star cometh?
Yes.
Do it.
There we go. The Death Star has cometh. And we're here to review Episode 9. Nobody's listening. Oh dear. That could be true. Episode 9 has been a big build up until this point on Andor. But it's been building and building and building. And we kick off with a very intense opening scene of Deidre and Bix having a very interesting conversation about the lovely Dr. Gorst and how he has developed some fascinating new techniques into psychology and how you can apply them to people, which makes people very compliant. Would that be the way to describe it, Paul?
Oh, I do like how you dress everything up in such a happy way. Yeah.
He's a smiling doctor. How often do you get a smile from a doctor?
How often can you get an appointment? I mean,
That's true. That's true. And the lovely Deidre, she just spells it out clearly to Bix. And in a very clear way as to what's going to happen if she doesn't comply and let them know what she knows about Cassian Andor. And unbeknownst to the Emperor, Cassian is currently in jail with a very unhappy what do you call him? Line manager? Is that how we would describe
Yeah.
him?
Was it Kino?
Yes.
Kilo?
Yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't very happy.
No.
Um,
And obviously they're building these parts, which we currently don't know what these parts are for. And they've got to keep up to a certain timetable and standard. And so the pressure has been put on them to increase their workflow, but obviously one of them is not feeling well, and that's going to cause them issues as the episode goes on. But I was talking about, look at the smiling, happy Dr. Gorst there.
I mean,
And this is where he tells him about how he developed his device by taking recordings of young alien children. And you can see how she's being well looked after there. She's got bedding and food and drink. Just like well taken care of by the Emperor.
Like a Premier Inn.
It is. It's a little bit like, well, maybe Travelodge. But you know, he's so happy when he's telling her the little story about how he developed his device and how successful it's been. And then he takes it out of its little box. It's like a little headset, and he puts it on. And a little bit like listening to Sabrina Carpenter, it gets an instant, like, scary-eyed reaction. Meanwhile, the terrorist and wage stealer is in jail, and he's trashing the toilet. You know, he's cutting pipes in the toilet where he should be working, which is just a disgrace.
That's one viewpoint.
The rest of them, they're all in program. They're all following orders.
Oh, look, I'm on program.
Just there like you are, yeah. And latest new arrival to the team, coming down a little electric elevator there, and they actually note that the guardrails on the elevator are not electrified like everything else in the building appears to be.
Yeah. So that's kind, isn't it? The safety has been thought of.
It has been, yeah. There's the fact that there's guardrails in an imperial institution makes you think that's probably the reason they took them away in the future.
You never know.
You never know. Meanwhile, Harry Styles has been getting played through the headset. And so, you know, there's a lot of tears and upset. And Deidre tries to reassure her and just lets her know, if you just answer some questions about Cassie and Andor, you'll be well taken care of and life will be so much better.
It's just a survey. Complete the survey.
And there you go. You see, she gets a little bit of a rest. Isn't that nice? Just go give her a little bit of downtime.
Yeah.
During the middle of the day, just go for a little nap. And meanwhile, in the Senate, you know, because there is a Senate, because even though he has been elected emperor, he wants political guidance and decisions made democratically from all the representatives of the galaxy. And anybody can bring forward motions. And Mon Mothma brings forward a motion to restrict the emperor's powers. And if they keep their light on, they agree with her. If they switch their light off, they disagree. And the lights all start to go off all around her because people don't agree with her.
Oh dear.
And she doesn't like that. She doesn't like democracy, this Mon Mothma. And
so she's... No lighty, no likey.
Yeah, no lighty, no likey. So like, yeah, she gets rejected. She's not very happy, and she heads home. You know, so all these claims that they make about it not being democratic, you know, he got his powers through democracy. He maintained them through democracy. You know, it wasn't till the terrorists started attacking his Death Star that things changed and the Senate had to be dissolved.
You can't wait for that dark side panel. You really cannot wait for that.
It's all true, Paul. It's all true.
Yeah, from a certain point of view.
Yeah. See, the victors in history are the ones that write the history books.
Ooh,
and sadly, the Emperor was not the victor. Meanwhile, back in jail, there seems to be some goings on in other levels, and rumours begin to sort of fly about what could be happening, and tensions are building. Meanwhile, Auntie Val has returned to Mon Mothma's house on Coruscant with a dress for the kid, because she's a lovely auntie that she is. But Auntie Val is actually terrorist Val, who, out of all the people in Aldania, appears to be the only one that didn't change her name.
Well, you know, she didn't feel she needed to.
And daughter's delighted with her new dress. But yeah, things are a little bit tense between Mon Mothma and Val. Obviously, they're both well aware of what they're doing. Mon Mothma's very much in public. Val's doing her work behind the scenes, and Mon Mothma expresses a concern as to what he, as in Luthen Rael, is having Val do, which kind of plays into this, and it becomes apparent over the next few episodes that there's not a love-in in the rebellion, that everybody's kind of got their own agendas within it as well.
Yeah. Mon Mothma's got a very complex life. There's not a lot of happiness in there, is there? Bless her.
Brought upon by herself, no sympathy from me. Breakfast in jail looks good.
Oh, Melchi's having some Alpen. Yeah.
And they're all in their cells, which very clean and very spacious, I thought.
And made by IKEA.
And made by IKEA. And they have a big debate. He wants to find out how many guards are on each level. And but he's not up for telling at all. He's dead against it. He just wants to do his time and go home.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, over in
London,
democratic Coruscant, the intelligence bureau, who are trying to ensure security and peace in the galaxy, are having another meeting. They do like a meeting. It's a late night meeting as well, so not everybody's turned up. But Deirdre's there, and she's talking about her conversations with Bix and the information she's obtained about Andor, and the connection she's made with him back to Luthen Rael, who they don't know him by name at that point. They just know him as Axis. And everything's starting to close down a little bit. If only they knew that Cassian, under another name, was in jail. But they don't. Meanwhile, back in jail, they're still continuing to get this rumours, Paul, as to what's going on. And
this is where Aquino Loy is starting to understand more about what's going on. He's been quite sort of happy to be the supervisor, but he's now starting to form a different opinion of things. I like how they show the walkways and how people are communicating by sign, almost a form of sign language, as to what's going on. And they're starting to find out that people aren't making it off Narkina 5. Once you're there, and then you're dead.
Basically, at this point, they've found out that something has gone tragically wrong on level 2. They're on level 5. Don't quite know what. Back in Coruscant, my favourite, Cyril, is there. He's having breakfast, even though it's nighttime. And he's there with his mother, and his mother's delighted because he's got a job promotion. And Uncle Holdo, he's going to be delighted. Cyril, he's not a big fan of his mother, but he does get some extra cereal from her, which I thought was sweet.
And more blue milk.
Yeah, more blue milk. And so things are kind of looking up a little bit for Cyril in his life again, even though he's stuck at home. He does have a go at his mother because his mother's been spying on him and looking in his special box, apparently.
We won't dwell on that.
We won't dwell on that. That could be another thread, along with Cassian's sister, that never gets explored.
That could be a spin-off story.
Yeah. In jail, they're making their parts. I thought it was TIE fighter parts. I was proven wrong.
Yeah, I think that when they do reveal what those are for, it's yeah, pretty amazing.
And on Coruscant, Val's there with breakfast with Mon Mothma and her husband and
And his
daughter.
family, yeah,
A lovely
yeah,
family breakfast.
yeah,
Looks actually quite nice, to be honest. Like it's got a little few, 3 or 4 little bowls or something.
yeah. A little bit scientific, perhaps, but yeah, looks good.
Mon Mothma, she's busy watching Netflix.
Yeah, well, you will do. I mean, you're going to ignore them three, aren't you?
Well, you know what? Her husband gets a rough deal, I think.
Yeah, you would.
Think of the secrets that she's keeping from him.
Yeah, and quite rightly so. He's a right.
Anyway, 2 terrorists here have a little conversation about the future. Mon Mothma wants her to go back to Chandrila and live the life of a spoilt rich kid.
But they can't because
For a
they
little
closed that
bit.
down.
But I think she goes back to FedEx. I think she does. And we'll find out in the next episode, maybe. But she's in deep as Val, and so is Mon Mothma, and both in very different ways. So, strange. She looks like she's going fishing, though. If you look at her luggage there on the right, it's kind of got like a cooler. But they have a little hug. Mon Mothma's very sad. Val looks slightly more stressed, I would say, Paul.
Yeah, stroke aggressive.
And we get this lovely haunting image of Mon Mothma all alone, despite being surrounded by millions of people.
There's a lot of that in Andor. A lot of shots taken from the back. I mean, we see a lot of that in the trailer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bix, she's a little bit mournful back on Ferrex.
I think her brain's a bit confuddled at the minute, isn't it?
Yeah, too much Sabrina Carpenter and Harry Styles music.
Yeah, yeah.
Meanwhile, on Coruscant, Cyril, not being a creep at all, hanging outside the Imperial Intelligence Bureau offices just so he can meet with Daedra. And they have a very highly sexualized tension of a conversation, I would describe it as, Paul.
Yeah, do you think it's very one-sided at this stage?
No, I think she's loving it. I don't think she's ever had this kind of attention. I think she likes it. She kind of has a go at him and says she could have him jailed. But he describes enjoying having their conversation and shares her passion for hunting down Cassian Andor, and she's kind of a little bit intrigued. And I think they're very similar people. He's got a new hairstyle as well.
What, in season 2 or there?
No, just there. He's got his hair all done up just for meeting her.
Put a bit of gel on.
Yeah, he's got his tie on. He's been hanging out more than once there, hoping to meet her.
He's still got his Roy Cropper jacket on though, hasn't he, from Coronation
Well,
Street?
if you're gonna be creepy, you might as well go for Roy Cropper. But very passionately wants to hunt down Andor. And he thinks that she's got the same level of passion as him. She's very wary of him. Kind of storms off, but there's still this tension, and we'll come back to this tension in later episodes, I think, between them.
Yeah,
it's a love story. It's a forbidden love story, isn't it, Paul?
it is. It's like, but Dedra, I love you, which I think I've heard that somewhere before.
Anyway, she goes up to her office, gets some information about a pilot that's been captured, and that pilot's got some information that could lead them to Cassian Andor.
Which pilot was
I
that?
kind of think she's cheating on Cyril a little bit here because she seems to have a thing for that officer.
You think?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
possibly. He looks very much like a young Tarkin, doesn't he?
He does. He does indeed.
Mm.
Back in Coruscant, Mon Mothma's fate becomes more and more complicated as it's her friend and from Chandrilla reveals to her that she's got £400,000 of credits that she's paid to the terrorist rebellion that's flagging up in her bank account. And if the Empire does a scan of her bank account, she's in serious trouble. And so he suggests introducing her to a very corrupt businessman from the planet who could solve her financial woes, which Mon Mothma is very much angry about, but she feels kind of trapped a little bit.
Yeah, so HMRC are all over this, aren't they?
Oh, 100%. You can't get away with it. If you move money, there's always a trail. Talking to people who may find out about it. Imperial Intelligence Bureau as well, they're having another long debate and about the latest findings. The wall is closing in on everybody. The tensions are building. If only they had Cassian's decoy name, they would know that he's back in jail still, looking after his ill jailed compatriot. And him and Melchi try and get him back, but he kind of collapses en route back to their ward. The evil doctor is summoned, and the doctor basically gives him an injection to kill him. And at that point, everything changes because he tells the story of how on level 2 they accidentally transferred a prisoner from level 4 to level 2, and it was revealed that he hadn't been released when he was supposed to get released. He'd just been moved from level 4 to level 2, and the word got out, and it all kicked off. And so they electrocuted everybody, as you do.
Oh, what else can you do? You know,
Ruined the whole system, you know. So that had to be done, and so it becomes very much apparent that nobody's getting out.
Yeah,
And as his co-prisoner, I was going to say co-worker, can't call him that, co-prisoner, the attitude of Kino changes completely.
yeah.
So much so that when Cassian asked the question that he refused to answer earlier, how many guards in each level, he utters straight away 12. And that's how the episode ends, Paul.
Yeah. Big shout out to Christopher Fairbank, who played the old guy that gets nobbled by the Doctor. I mean, he's been in so many great things over the years.
Yeah.
First came across him in A Wiedersehen Pet, the construction workers that went over to Germany back in the early 80s. Brilliant in that as Moxie. He's been in Batman, he's been in everything. So he put in a real shift, didn't he?
Excuse me.
Yeah, he was
full of the cold this evening, I'm afraid. A very interesting episode in terms of ratcheting up tension.
Yeah, I mean, the whole tone of the Narkina 5 storyline is totally different from anything else in Andor, which is great. Probably my favorite stuff happens in Narkina 5. And Andy Serkis is brilliant in it. The way his character develops from being sort of very much get on with your work to we need to do something to get out of here.
Spoilers.
And the development is really, really good.
Yeah. So next week, of course, is the finale on that arc. One Way Out, episode 10. So we'll look forward to covering that next week, Paul.
I'm sure you'll hear the chants of One Way Out whilst you're in Japan.
At some point, I'm sure. Obviously, that brings us to an end for this week's The Death Star Cometh. And obviously, you can find us as part of Good Morning Tatooine, live streaming every Sunday at 9 p.m. in the UK, 4 p.m. New York, and released as individual episodes as well. That brings us to a conclusion for this week's Good Morning Tatooine, Paul.
Yay! We got there.
Interesting week in terms of news. An interesting episode to cover as part of Andor.
Yeah. At a glance, when we were looking at what content to put for the show, I was certainly struggling, but then you came up with some blinding stuff there. Particularly like the stuff we did on the panels for Celebration.
Yeah.
So that was really good stuff. Yeah, it's going to be an interesting celebration. It's going to be different to a lot of the ones that people have been to before, but I'm confident that there's going to be plenty of content there that people are going to enjoy, and I'm certainly looking forward to hearing from you guys as to what happens while you're out there.
Absolutely, you'll hear some of it. Meanwhile, over the next week, you can check out fantatracks.com to keep in touch with all the latest Star Wars and Lucasfilm news. We cover everything film, television, collecting, fashion, gaming, literature, music and art, and lots of interviews, event coverage, podcasts and reviews. And if you're not on the website, they can go on the social media, Paul.
They can find out all about things on Instagram, Facebook, Threads, X, TikTok, and probably others.
You can also check out Fantatracks Radio. Search for Fantatracks Radio on your podcatcher of choice. Lots of new episodes hitting the airways. And of course, Fantatracks TV with Good Morning Tatooine on a Sunday, Jabba's Court on a Wednesday, and at some point, some regular live streaming gaming. Yeah, some point.
Yeah.
That's it for this week's Good Morning Tatooine, Paul. So it's a goodbye from me.
And it's a very goodbye from him.
Keep up to date with the latest Star Wars news each and every day on fantatracks.com. You can also find us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Tumblr, and Pinterest at Fantatracks. And be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and follow Fantatracks TV to be alerted to new content and to be a part of our live shows.